Day one at SEC Media Days, of course, 2022. Standing here with Dave Matter of the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. Of course, this all brought to you by J.E. Dunn, our wonderful title sponsor. If you want a great career, top 100 place to work in America, 2022 best place to work, make sure you check out jedunn.com. All right, got that out of the way, Dave. All right, Eli Drinkwitz goes on day number one. He's sort of an interesting cat. He doesn't always fit into all the same personas of the other ball coaches that are in the SEC. What was your impersonation? It's the third time he's been through this now. How do you think he did day number one, and any highlights for you personally from talking to him?
I thought he was a little bit more subdued maybe than he was last year. Last year he kind of came out guns blazing and had a lot of hot takes, and the Oklahoma-Texas news had just happened, so he shared a lot of thoughts on that. And I thought he was thoughtful. I thought he has got a lot of things he kind of wanted to address, but not in a real hot take, this will go viral on Twitter kind of approach. So maybe he's maturing a little bit or just kind of figuring out who he is in front of the camera and all that. But, he's got opinions on a lot of the things that have impacted college sports, and he's dealing with a lot of those things. And I think he genuinely cares about the future of college sports, college football. I think he's genuinely concerned about some of the realignment stuff, some of the NIL stuff, a lot of the same things that Lane Kiffin was kind of touching on, too, earlier in the day.
Well, and so, Brian Kelly was asked about it as well today, and there seems to be a pretty standard sort of like, it's ruining the game, the mega conferences are coming, Nick Saban's had comments about it. Here's my question, and maybe this is for you also, maybe through the words of Eli, but that is, does anyone have a solution? Because Greg Sankey today a little bit alluded to sort of how it's just unregulated chaos.
Right, and the coaches seem to be like, well, it's up to you guys to fix it, not us. We just play the game the way you tell us to and find the loopholes and whatever that is. I don't know. I think they're kind of taking the approach that that's not their job, and that they need there needs to be more leadership, more direction. But then who do you want to be making those decisions? Just the conference commissioners, just the people on the playoff committee. We don't know who the NCAA president's going to be going forward. They probably don't even want one. So I don't know. It's a lot of complaints, obviously, but not a lot of solutions.
No, it's not. And I think what's interesting about the realignment stuff is that I've always – and listen, you're the Mizzou expert here. It's one of the few towns in the SEC I've not been to in the interest of full disclosure. But it's always felt like it walked, talked, and acted a little bit like a Big Ten school. There's some history there from previous elements of realignment. Do you believe – like I don't know what Sankey would do if Missouri went to them and said, hey, we're interested in the Big Ten, or vice versa. I don't know what they would do. It's illegal to kick a school out, basically. But I'm curious what fans would do. If I told you the paycheck wasn't going to change, if it was going to be $100 million guaranteed for the next 30 years, and you're in, right? You're above the cut in the Big Ten or the SEC, what would Missouri fans choose?
I think you could get a lot of different answers depending on who you ask and where you ask in the state of Missouri. It's a very complex state to where you've got two, metro areas on the coasts in Kansas City and St. Louis. Springfield feels much more like the South. The Boot Heel feels a lot more like the South. And then you go up in northern Missouri, places that are, connected to Illinois and Iowa. Those feel more like kind of Big Ten country. Just the culture and the terrain and just who they neighbor. So I think you'd get different answers. I think part of the reluctance to leave would be, we just joined this thing. We don't want to leave with our tails between our legs and say, hey, we weren't cut out for this. Let's go. It'll be easier in the Big Ten.
And 2 SEC East championships, which is more than Kentucky, Vanderbilt, South Carolina, and all of them combined.
So Missouri has already proven that if you get the right coach, you recruit well, and you get the right structure and leadership, you can win here. Now, you also need Georgia to be down a little bit, Florida to be down a little bit, but part of making those programs down is you being up. Missouri was beating those teams back then. So it's possible, definitely. I don't think the majority of fans would prefer the Big Ten over the SEC. And also, these decisions, the fans may look at it like, well, let's look. What would a Big Ten schedule look like this year? Well, that's not what this is based on. It's not based on, hey, maybe you can beat Wisconsin and Northwestern and Nebraska this year, and you can't beat Georgia and Florida and Tennessee. This is more – these are long-range decisions, and it's probably a good thing the fans aren't the ones making the decision.
What if Kansas is in the Big Ten? Does that change their opinion?
Well, maybe it might be. I mean, Missouri fans love playing Kansas. They're getting now, too, in basketball. I don't know if that's a good thing. They've got a series eventually to play them in football. Nobody really cares about Missouri-Kansas football that much. It's more of a basketball thing. But, I think it would be more in the yay pile than the nay.
Absolutely. So let's talk about the actual team, because that's what we're here to do, is talk about the football team. And that the quarterback battle, do you have any sense at all of what's changed in the last 6 months, 8 months, as far as, I'm sure he didn't say anything today that illuminated any of that?
Well, the fact that they went out and got a transfer and struck out on several transfers they were trying to add, I mean, Eli made it clear he was going after pretty much every high-profile Power 5 guy that was out there on the market, and they ended up with Jack Abraham, brought him in as a walk-on just because – he didn't have a lot of great options. He's going to be 25 this fall. He's seen a lot. I mean, he's played a lot of college football, and that's what they were looking for. Just somebody to, if not win the job, at least push the other guys and have a veteran on the team. It's the one thing kind of lingering, hovering over this team that is an absolute unknown, because I think they've upgraded pretty much every other group on this team, or at least addressed them. But when you don't know who your quarterback's going to be, it's hard to slot, who's going to finish where and say, oh, just give them the benefit of the doubt. They'll figure it out. That's the most important position in the sport. So I think that's why there's some reluctance. That's why you only see like the over-under for Missouri, like 5.5. If they knew who their quarterback was and they came out of spring saying, this is our guy, he's going to be the leader, then maybe the confidence goes up a little bit. But it's still a competition.
If Connor Bazelak is there, is it 6, 7 wins, or is that?
I would think so, because when he's healthy, he was a pretty good quarterback at Missouri. He got hurt last year. They played him hurt. Probably didn't, help their cause too much that he was out there injured. And but it just didn't work out. He goes to Indiana. I expect him to have a good year there if he's healthy, because he is a good college quarterback. But he was a guy that you knew what you had at him. You just don't really know what you have in these guys they have now.
Auburn and Arkansas, of course, in crossover. The East is, again, I don't know about you, but I can't remember a time where every fan base in the conference is kind of happy about their team. Outside of Auburn, and I'm not sure Auburn counts, honestly. But if you look at Tennessee, they feel bullish. Kentucky's a really good program right now. South Carolina's overachieving last year. Vandy, I don't know what to make of them, but I think that we all know how long the rebuilding process is. So what is it? What would the fans do if it's a losing season? And the recruiting is still good, because he's been a great recruiter. What happens? I mean, is it just 6-6 and keep recruiting and people are happy and fine going into year 4? Because year 3 tends to be a big one for coaches in the SEC.
And right now, Missouri's actually losing out on some in-state recruits that are going elsewhere. Now, Eli made the point today. I asked him about it. He said they can't sign until December. Game's not over. Okay, sure. And he's done a good job of flipping some recruits over the last couple of years. So that's the thing that I think the folks that are buying in on this 2022 team are kind of hanging their hat on recruiting and not so much the results on the field, and they think that will eventually turn, and maybe it will. Maybe that'll be the difference. He did say today he believes this is his most talented of the 3 teams he's had. It's just when you've got a big question mark at quarterback, it's hard to pay attention to. Yeah, they're actually pretty good at linebacker, and their offensive guards are better. It's still that thing that's kind of hovering there. So yeah, people won't be pleased. I think you want to see progress. They go 6-6 last year, a weird bowl game where half the team didn't play, including their only really good player in Tyler Beatty. Win 7 this year, I think you should feel good about that. But right now, on paper, you'd have to upset a few teams to get to 7.
I think 7 wins would be a heck of a year. Tell us about the guys that are here, the players at least. I've already had a chance to talk to a couple guys from LSU, and I am consistently amazed at the players that come to this event. They are the best people. The stories are amazing. We don't get access to them ever, so it's great to actually get a chance to talk to them. Kind of give the fans a sense of sort of who these guys are, and kind of just maybe some anecdotes about each of these guys.
Isaiah McGuire is a pretty good defensive end that quietly put up really good numbers last year as an edge rusher, a senior who came back. And probably, I don't think he could have gone to the NFL, but he has a chance to make some money this year for sure. Martez Manuel is a Columbia kid from Rockbridge High School, a mile away from Mizzou's campus, and has been a multi-year starter, nice player in the back end. The neat story is Barrett Banister, wide receiver, came back for his 6th year of college, grew up in Fayetteville, had deep ties to Arkansas's program. His uncle was a coach at Arkansas and at Auburn. Grew up in SEC country, comes to Mizzou as a walk-on. It was a huge deal when he got playing time. Then it was a huge deal when he went on to get a scholarship. Now it's a huge deal that he plays, and then he gets invited to SEC Media Days, and he's probably going to be a team captain this year, I would think. So he is kind of soaking it all in, really enjoying the experience. Some guys just kind of go through the motions, but he really seems to be enjoying himself here, and he's become like this great ambassador for the program.
Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off. He is. That's the type of guy that when you come to this event, as long as we've been coming to this event, that's the type of guy you go. That's why you go to college and play football. Like that is the reason you get to do it, because he's not playing in the NFL, but to come here, this is going to be a highlight of his life, and I think that's a really cool thing. So obviously check out jedunn.com if you're looking to change careers, regardless of background. Top 100 workplace, 2022 best place to work, industry-leading benefits, all that great stuff, and of course bringing you all this free content from this beautiful place, the College Football Hall of Fame. Dave Matter, make sure you check him out all over the Twitters as well. St. Louis Post-Dispatch, the best guy in the business covering your Mizzou Tigers. Thank you, dude.
All right, my pleasure.
That's it. Take it easy.